summer will be ending soon here in the South, maybe. And in the coming week, November will mark the beginning of the coming of winter. The frost is going to soon take our tender plants. And leaves have begun to fall from the trees. Geese begin to arrive from the north. The days should be cooler soon. The weather is unsettled, and the evenings are becoming dark. In the next few days, Christians will mark all saints and all holidays commemorating the dead, and our Hispanic neighbors will celebrate Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. If we were members of traditional Mexican families, we might have a picnic on the graves of our family members, celebrating, remembering, and honoring. Most of us are far from the grave sites of our ancestors, but today we can also honor those who have gone before us. And we will do that now by inviting any who wish to come forward to place a memento of their loved ones on the ofrenda or altar. And I invite you to come down the center aisle and go back on the sides to your seats. Read the plain type if you will respond with the italic type. 720, we remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them.
In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember them.
In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them.
In the blueness of the sky, in the warmth of summer, we remember them.
In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them.
In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them.
When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them.
When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember
When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them.
So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now part of us as we remember them.
There are many things that we can be thankful for, and one of them is a church that works in so many ways to bring life and love to its members and beyond. At this time, the offering will be taken, and what is received will be put toward the programs like religious education, worship, membership, that help sustain and grow the message of Unitarian Universalism. If this is your first time visiting with us, please let the plate pass. Your presence is gift enough.
This is a poem by Mary Oliver, When Death Comes. When death comes like the hungry bear in autumn. When death comes and takes all the bright coins from his purse to buy me and snaps his purse shut. When death comes like the measles pox. When death comes like an iceberg between the shoulder blades. I want to step through the door full of curiosity, wondering, what is it going to be like, this cottage of darkness? And therefore I look upon everything as a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And I look upon time as no more than an idea. And I consider eternity as another possibility. And I think of each life as a flower, as common as a field daisy, and as singular, and each name a comfortable music in the mouth. Tending as all music towards silence. In each body, a lion of courage and something precious to the earth. When it's over, I want to say all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was a bridegroom taking the world into my arms. And when it's over, I don't want to wonder if I have made of my life something particular and real. I don't want to find myself sighing and frightening or full of argument. I don't want to end up simply having visited this world.
This time of the year is known as a liminal time, when borders are crossed and separations are blurred. And we can certainly tell that with the weather. Our seasons are being blurred. Cool autumnal weather during the nights and temperatures going up into the 80s during the day, not to mention it's confusing, having to dress in layers. Samhain, the ancient Celtic festival of the New Year, is associated with the evening of October 31st, better known as Halloween, in American culture, which I'm sure all the young ones are looking forward to tomorrow night. Samhain creates a liminality, a window during which some people believe that spirits can easily enter the world of the living. Believers think that during Samhain, the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, and deceased family members and friends can return to their previous homes to bestow gifts or seek revenge. But it is not the only festival to have that sense of blurring life and death. The Chinese Ghost Festival is celebrated during the 7th month of the Chinese lunar calendar. This year it was in August. This festival has origins in Buddhist and Taoist cultures and can be traced to India. And it's thought that ghosts are able to visit from the afterlife during this time. Festival activities involve making offerings of food and burning ghost money for the spirits. The tradition of leaving favorite foods and drinks for the dead on ofrendas during Dia de los Muertos is also a custom in other cultures. In the Hindu tradition, on the yearly anniversary of a loved one's death, it is customary to offer tarpan to the dead. Tarpan literally means offering of water to the deceased. And this offering, when made with love and devotion, brings contentment to the dead, it's believed, and allows them to continue on to the next cycle of their existence. Remembering is so important to us when it comes to the family and friends we love who have passed on. Vivian Nunez writes that the future is a scary place when it doesn't include someone we love. The important thing to do after someone dies and we start thinking about the future is to keep that person's memory alive. Some ways we can do that include keeping traditions alive. As the holidays approach, it's dreadful for some people to think about what Thanksgiving, Christmas, or celebrating the New Year will be like without our loved one, especially if it's the first holiday season we spend without them. In these situations, it's important to keep some of their favorite traditions alive. It may be hard, but decorating the Christmas tree, for instance, just how they liked it, may bring us some peace. We can also share stories about them. There's no time frame for how long it'll take us to get through telling funny, good stories without crying about them first. But telling others about our loved ones' funniest moments or any favorite story will make all the difference in keeping their memory alive. Humor is undeniably a big part of how we humans work. That's no less true when we're confronted with death and loss and grief. We learn to joke and laugh when confronted with tragedy. So when I was thinking about the Day of the Dead, which is a secular festival in Mexico and Central America, not religious, what struck me was the sense of humor that comes across in the celebration of the dead, depicting people as skeletons doing the work they did when they were alive, for example. But there is humor also in the tradition of poems called calavera poems. Calavera is Spanish for skeleton. The word can be used to describe an image of a skeleton during Day of the Dead, or it can also mean a humorous conjuring poem. It's called a conjuring poem because the idea is to create such a strong sense of the person through the details of the poem that they, in a sense, come back. The magic of the words, the details of speech, physical description, and humor bring these characters back to life. These poems, of course, lose something in the translation from the original Spanish. But here are a couple of examples. Katrina is a lady that lives next door. She yells and she screams and stomps on the floor. One day she stomped so hard that her hat fell down. I picked it up and looked at her with a frown. She was really a skeleton from her toes to her head. Don't be scared. One day you'll look like me, she said. And here's another one. The neighbor's dog has chased me home every day this autumn. I run away when I'm all alone so it doesn't bite my bottom. Go ahead, little dog, and gnash your teeth, but someday you'll be buried, Dia de los Muertos. Let me remind you of another language where death is described in many odd words and humorous ways. Death is only done in English language. We say that they are idioms or euphemisms, and often we use them as a way to avoid saying what they mean, that someone has died. We use passed on or passed away, but there are more entertaining phrases, and I thought today we could hear a few of them and learn where they came from. Bite the dust. The phrase was originally applied to humans who might literally end up with a mouthful of dirt as they fall to the ground in battle. The song by Queen, another one, Bites the Dust, made it a popular phrase. Bought the farm. Anybody ever heard of somebody? They bought the farm. Okay. That's often used to refer to someone deceased in a military accident or operation. It's really interesting. The phrase predates World War II, but it came into common use at that time due to the large numbers of training casualties due to inexperienced pilots or crew members training in aircraft that were much less reliable than today's. Accidents in rural areas would commonly result in aircraft crashing into barns, fields, or rural property, resulting in damages and destruction. And so the U.S. government would compensate the property owners with checks to pay for damages, or in some case condemn the land contaminated with undetonated or unlocated munitions or weapons. So in effect, they bought the farm. Join the choir invisible. This phrase comes from a poem by George Eliot, "Oh, may I join the choir invisible." But you might have heard of it in another more famous text. This parrot is no more. It has ceased to be. It's expired and gone to meet its maker. This is a late parrot. Bereft of life, it rests in peace. If you hadn't nailed it to the perch, it would be pushing up the daisies. It's rung down the curtain and joined the choir invisible. This is an ex-parrot. The famous Monty Python parrot sketch. And dead as a doornail. This is an extremely old phrase from at least the 14th century. There's a reference to it in print in 1350, a translation of a French poem. In 1592, William Shakespeare gave these lines to the rebel leader Jack Cade in King Henry VI, Part 2. Look on me well, I have eat no meat these 5 days, yet come thou and thy 5 men. And if I do not leave you all as dead as a doornail, I pray God I may never eat grass more. Doornails are the large-headed studs that were used in earlier times for strength and more recently as decoration. And the practice was to hammer the nail through a door and then bend the protruding end over to secure it. And so because of this process, such a nail would be dead or unusable afterwards. To quote George Bernard Shaw, life does not cease to be funny when people die, any more than it ceases to be serious when people laugh. And so our celebration of the dead is nearing its end this morning, and thank you for sharing it. We can be happy with our memories and grateful for those who have gone before us. And we trust in the spirit of life that joins living and dying in an eternal process. To bear this out in this congregation this past week, we have had a birth, and we have had a memorial service for one of our beloved members, Bob Shannon. Blessed are we in our going out and our coming in. Our closing hymn is Spirit of Life, number 123, but also you have in your order of service the Spanish words, and we'll sing Spirit of Life in English first, and then we will sing Fuente de Amor. Please rise in body or spirit.
All the stirrings of compassion.
For those who walked with us, this is a prayer. For those who have gone ahead, this is a blessing. For those who touched and tended us, who lingered with us while they lived, this is a thanksgiving. For those who journey still with us in the shadows of awareness, in the crevices of memory, in the landscape of our dreams, this is a benediction. Please join me in reading the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community,